Packers suck.
Field throw. Incredible room to run for Fields. Oh, turn it on to speed.
This is Out Bear Nation.
What's up, everybody? Good evening, and welcome in to another episode of Out of High Bear Nation right here on the Undefeated Sports Network, Chicago's fastest growing podcast platform. I'm Andrew Tarbill. To my left is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho. And down below, we got our guy, Mike, whose name you can't see. It's cut off. But what's up, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Good, man. How you doing?
Tarbill, can I just say how great it is to finally have you back? I missed your face.
I appreciate that.
You know, I didn't mind driving for the last month, but I'm ready to sit in the passenger and be passenger princess while you drive.
Passenger princess, well put. Now we got a great show loaded up here for you guys tonight. Going to be talking Justin Fields, talking the NFL Combine, and what's going to be happening here over the next few weeks. Obviously, the Bears, the big trade is looming on the horizon. I think we all know that all signs are pointing towards Caleb Williams, especially after the interview that came out today at the Combine, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Huge guest will be joining the show here, guys. We have former Ohio State Buckeye and current NFL player Parris Campbell joining us here in about 10 minutes. So got a great show lined up for you guys, tons to talk about, and I'm excited, guys. It's a great time to be a Bears fan, is it not? I mean, I alluded to it a couple months ago, and the statement still rings true. 4 years ago, we were arguing over Mitchell Trubisky or Mike Glennon, and now the conversation is Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields. It's really a great place for us to be at, right, guys?
Well, I mean, if we're going to be a little more optimistic about it, at least it's the caliber of quarterback that we're debating is way better than Mike Glennon and Mitch Trubisky. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely what I'm saying, Ace.
Hey, so my son is watching, which is pretty sweet. He's over by his mom's right now, so shout out to him. He always likes when I give him a little shout out on the show.
Absolutely. So I want to get your guys' thoughts quick before we bring Parris on about some of the conversations that transpired today. Obviously, some big names talked at the podium. Some big names didn't, i.e. Marvin Harrison Jr. did not speak this morning as scheduled for whatever reason. But what are your guys' thoughts after hearing Caleb Williams on the podium today? Do you think it's a done deal, Caleb coming to Chicago, or
I don't know if anything's ever a done deal until it's a done deal in the NFL. I think Caleb got up there, said what he needed to say. I like the way that he kind of challenged the Bears a little bit when he was asked, you know, what's one question you would ask the Bears? And he was like, do you want to win? Because I think that's a very valid question for an organization that really over the last, since I've been born, 33 years old right now. So since I've been born, hasn't been, you know, the poster child for success in the NFL. I think it's a good mindset to have. I like the confidence that he brings when he's at the podium. I like Justin Fields too when he speaks, but when Caleb speaks, it's a little different. It's more of like I have this kind of quiet cockiness about me. I know how good I am, and I'm going to go out there and show you how good I am. And, you know, Justin, that's not his personality. He's more of a quiet demeanor kind of guy, but he leads
right
in a different way. But for a long time, there's been a lot of fans in Chicago that have wanted a guy that's going to be that rah, rah, I'm ready to go, get you hyped, type of guy. And he so far seems to fit that mold pretty well.
Yeah, my biggest thing with it is you kind of knew like he wasn't going to come out and be like, negative comments. So you kind of knew that he was going to come out and say what he's supposed to say, kind of thing. But my biggest thing is I just wanted to hear the tone in his voice, and I think most people can tell that the writing's on the wall. That there's that 75% chance they probably go Caleb. So he probably is thinking that's where he's probably going. So that tone, I felt like his tone literally did sound like he was excited. Like it sounded like he was kind of loving the opportunity. He was not sour about it at all. So it to me, his tone made it sound like he was excited to come to the Bears, and he was ready to get started.
Yeah, I do believe he referred to the Bears as awesome at one point in the interview, which is what you like to hear. I mean, obviously, a lot of things for the Bears are trending upwards with the way the season finished and the way just the capital that we have, the money that they can spend in free agency. It's going to be an exciting next few weeks leading up to the draft. But with that being said, guys, we have a major guest, probably the biggest guest we've ever had the honor of bringing on to the Undefeated Sports Network here with us in the green room. So we are going to play a quick clip, and then we will go ahead and bring in current NFL wide receiver Parris Campbell. What's up, guys? And we are back right here on Out of Hibernation, welcoming in Parris Campbell. Parris, how are we doing tonight?
Good, man. How you guys doing? I appreciate y'all for having me.
Doing well. We appreciate you joining us. A lot to talk about. It's been a busy couple weeks, and it's only going to get busier as time progresses here and we get closer to the draft. So, Mike, I'm going to leave it to you. I know you wanted to recap some stats and things like that, so I'm going to let you dive into it.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome again, Parris. Thank you so much for doing this. So as Bears fans, we're heading into, this free agency. We have the cap room to spend, who to pick up, who not to pick up. And I see you were drafted, in 2019 by the Colts, got your first career touchdown early in week 2 versus the Titans, went on IR that same season in the later half of the season. Came back week 1, had your biggest game of your career, the 6 passes for 71 yards against the Jaguars, but then you suffered the PCL and the MCL that next week. You did come back 22 strong, played in all 17, starting 16. That got you the 1-year deal with the Giants where, I think a lot of people are saying that prove it your deal. So when you're kind of like that Darnell Mooney's in the world where you're in that contract year heading into free agency, does that put that added pressure on you on that final year, knowing that you're playing for something next year?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, when you are on that last year of the deal, it's like you got to play to feed your family. You know what I mean? Because you don't know what's coming next. And yeah, there's added pressure. But I think majority of the guys in the league, they try to play like in knowing that there's pressure, but not putting too much pressure on themselves. Because at the end of the day, like it's football. We've been doing it for a long time. We still got to go out there and make plays and do what we know we're capable of doing. But there is a little sense of kind of urgency, to put together a good year, put together good numbers. Obviously, help the team win. But there's definitely a sense of urgency when you're on that last year.
So Paris, I want to thank you for coming on again with us. I know the other guys have thanked you. Looking back on your career, you've had a number of offensive coordinators that have changed over time. And in Chicago right now, there's the debate if, the Bears should stick with Justin or bring in Caleb Williams. I'd like your insight on how difficult is it if the Bears did decide to stick with Justin Fields for a player just to have to forget everything from a past offense and then try to get everything caught up for this new offensive coordinator.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think it's tough. And obviously, you guys are Bears fans. You guys know more about the Bears than me. But and I'm not saying this being biased, having gone to Ohio State, but I think Justin is a great player. Obviously, he's been in the system with the new GM, the new coaching staff for 2 years now. And I know I'm pretty sure they just hired a new offensive coordinator, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Obviously, like I said, I think Justin is a great player. He's someone who knows the system. Obviously, I think they need to add offensive weapons for him. They did that last year by adding DJ Moore, who had a great year. Obviously, Darnell Mooney. They got some guys, but I think obviously with free agency coming up, with the cap space going up, with the amount of cap room that they have, if they did decide to keep Justin, I think it would be no problem to add some weapons, free agency, or whether that's in the draft, because it's a receiver heavy draft as well. But on the other end, when you got a guy like Caleb Williams, like, man, like, I think everybody can see the talent just watching him play, from the arm talent, decision making, being able to get out the pocket, being mobile, just everything, man. He's a true, once in a lifetime talent. And obviously, I think that that's where the hard part comes in, because it's like, well, do we move away from what we know? Obviously, Justin is still young. He has so much time to grow, and he's going to grow, and he's going to grow into this phenomenal player in the NFL. There's no doubt in my mind. But I also know that this league is a business, and it's a sense of urgency league as well. Like, I'm sure Chicago wants to win now, and I don't know if that happens with Justin. I don't know if that happens with a young rookie in Caleb Williams. That's for their their front office to decide. But to be honest with you, man, I don't think there's a wrong answer, because I think Justin's going to continue to develop. Obviously, Caleb is a phenomenal talent, but he also has to develop. So, yeah, there's some development needed to be done in both situations.
Now, Parris,
Absolutely.
so Parris, you were, if I'm not mistaken, your last year at Ohio State was the year before Fields got there, correct?
Yep,
So
correct.
you didn't have the kind of the ability to play with Justin Fields. Did you ever get a chance to still kind of meet him, have any interaction
Yeah.
with him?
100%. I'm a guy. I'm a Buckeye through and through. So whenever I get a chance to go back, I'm back talking to the guys, man. Just wanting to hang out with them, man. Because at the end of the day, like, you go to Ohio State, it's a brotherhood. So, yeah, I've gotten to connect with Justin a lot. Me and him actually still talk time to time. Like, whether I shoot him a DM on Instagram or something, or just say that praying for him, or I hope he's doing well, stuff like that. But yeah, when he was there, I think Justin kind of, like, he took over the quarterback role and kind of, like, made it his own. You know what I mean? Obviously, Ohio State, we just had, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. Before that, we had JT Barrett, Cardell Jones, Braxton Miller, like, all those guys. But I think Justin kind of just made it his own thing, and he exploded in that offense. Like, he took over that offense. Him and Ryan Day, what they were able to do in those 2 years, obviously, fell short of a national championship, but I think he made a statement when they played Clemson his last year, and the way he dominated in that game, and they took over that game as an offense. And at the end of the day, Justin's a great guy. I'm sure you guys know that. I mean, obviously, just watching him, the way he handles himself in the media, the way that he speaks, he talks, he handles himself. You don't hear a lot of off season or off field things about Justin Fields. You know, he's a good guy. But like I said, whether he's there in Chicago or if he's somewhere else, man, I know he'll continue to develop and be a phenomenal player.
And Paris, I know you also went through a lot of quarterbacks in your time in Indy as well. Justin has been touted as a great locker room guy, a real leader. You've seen a lot of former teammates and a lot of current teammates come out and defend him. How difficult is it? So my thought process on it is moving on from Justin would do more harm simply because of what he brings to the locker room. Is there really that big of a difference when you go from, this guy's the leader and now he's not there?
Yeah, I think there is a difference. I think it's a big one, to be honest with you. Because like you mentioned, obviously I went through a bunch of different quarterbacks. Granted, all the quarterbacks I played with, I thought were pretty good leaders. Especially Philip Rivers and Matt Ryan. Obviously, I played with Andrew Luck for about 3 weeks of a training camp, but he had great leadership qualities as well. But I think it's different because um, for example, I mean, I was just in New York, playing with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones gets hurt. Obviously, he's in the building, but he's rehabbing, so he's not around the guys as much.
Right.
And then we go with Tyrod Taylor, who's a phenomenal vet, great leader. And then we go also with Tommy DeVito, who's a young rookie, learning the ropes, made plays. But it's just a different scale. When we're training in the off season and working out with DJ, like we're learning him as a quarterback, as a person, as a leader. He's bringing a different um, type of leadership to the locker room. Like everybody leads different. You know what I mean? So if you're used to one way of someone's leading, like you get used to that. Like you get in a groove, you get in a vibe with that. And so like once DJ went down, it was like, all right, now it's Tyrod's show. Now it's Tyrod has the keys to the car. Let's see how Tyrod leads. Tyrod might not interact with the receivers or running backs or offensive line like DJ interacts. You know what I mean? Like it's just a different vibe. It's a different way of kind of camaraderie and learning each other and playing with each other. So um, obviously with just the Justin situation, he's been there. He's been with that group for 2 years now. Um, and if they say that he's such a great locker room guy, he is this excellent leader. He does know how to you know rile the locker room up, like bring them together. Like does it mean that much to you guys to move? You know what I'm saying? If you move on, you know what I mean? Because obviously, I've heard great things about Caleb Williams as well when it comes to leadership. But at the end of the day, he's a young rookie and he has to earn that. You know what I mean? He's not going to walk in that locker room and guys are going to be like, all right, we're going to listen to Caleb Williams. Like, no, you got to earn that. You know what I mean? Obviously we know
Right.
that's how the NFL works. So um, I think that's a big thing that the Chicago front office needs to think about, coaching staff included. Because I mean. Um, you could kind of see watching Chicago games because obviously I try to watch, you know, people that go to Ohio State in the NFL. I try to watch it when I can, but you can see Justin, his leadership show when he plays. You know what I mean? So um, I guess once again that's another thing for them to figure out. But I think it is. I think it is a huge difference for sure.
Uh, Kind of to elaborate on that a little bit more, Paris, the quarterback and receiver connection is so crucial, right? And you mentioned you've played with a few different quarterbacks throughout your career thus far. Um, how difficult or how challenging is it for you to acclimate to a new quarterback when somebody goes down from a wide receiver perspective? I mean, obviously the timing is crucial and y'all got to be on the same page, but what's it like going through that process when a new quarterback steps in?
Yeah. So for me, I would say when I was in Indy, it was the toughest because obviously it was year to year, three different guys. You know what I mean? From Carson Wentz to well, starting back my rookie year, Jacoby Brissett to Carson Wentz to Philip Rivers to Matt Ryan. I think it's different year to year because you're so used to a guy, and you might build this chemistry up, and you guys might, like you said, the timing thing is important, huge. That's everything in the NFL. Timing is everything. So you might be so used to that, and then you go into a new year, and it's a entire new guy. Like when we went from um, to Carson to Matt, like it was completely different. honestly. Like, it was completely different because Matt has been playing the game for 14 years at this time when he came to Indy.
Right.
Like, the way they articulate with the receivers is different. What they want in routes is different. Like, it's completely different. So as a player, each receiver has their skill set and things that they think they do well. But at the end of the day, like, you gotta you gotta do it how your quarterback wants you to do it. You know what I mean? So there
For
might be
sure.
things that don't fit a certain receiver. They feel like they can't do it this way, or the quarterback feels they can't do this way, and it's tough. I would say I would say for me personally, like playing with Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan, just because they were kind of similar. They played the game for a long time,
Right.
kind of played in the same era, so um, they were very similar, and it wasn't hard to kind of go from Philip to Matt. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that hard because I kind of just like reverted back to what Philip was telling me when he was there. So it wasn't that difficult. But I think it is. I think it means a lot. So for guys like DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, who've played with Justin and been with him, um, it's going to be something completely different because they have to learn Caleb, and Caleb has to learn them. You know what I mean? So it goes hand in hand for sure.
Was Matt Eberflus in Indianapolis when you were there, Paris, or was that after your time with the Colts?
Yes, he was there. He was there my first 2 years. 2 years, I believe. Yeah, because he got hired in Chicago in 2022. I want to say.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
that's right.
that's
Yep.
correct. Yep.
Yeah. So
Did
yeah, I
you
was
have any
there.
interactions with him while you were there? And if so, what kind of leader is he? I know there's a lot of talk that with the records that he's had over the last 2 seasons with the Bears, can he lead these guys to where they need to be? And I'd like to get your perspective on how he leads as a coach.
Yeah. So our interactions were minimal. But obviously I was in the building for 2 years, and in practice competing against the defense, stuff like that. But just from talking with guys in the locker room, because I'm a type of player like I need to know everything. Like, so whatever, like if I'm talking to the defense, I need to know like why y'all running this, what I'm saying? What are y'all trying to cover? Stuff like that. So um, just thinking back like in those past memories, I've heard nothing but good things about Matt Eberflus. Nothing but good things. Obviously, when you're a new coach, a new head coach, it's different. It's different, man. You can't expect to just go in and all right, we're gonna win 15 games. You know what I'm saying? Like I think
Yeah.
that's a long shot to me. Like he's been there for 2 years. Obviously, the seasons haven't gone, the way that they wanted them to. But I feel like last year, they made some hay. You know what I'm saying? They were able to win a couple of games. Obviously I feel like some of their games came down to like just fourth quarter crunch time decisions and one
Yep.
play and but then again, that's the nature of the league. It always comes down to one play, and it always comes down to one mistake. But I think fans should give Eberflus a shot, man. It's only year 3. He's only going into year 3, and whether whether they stick with Justin or do make that decision with the number 1 pick and draft Caleb. I think with that and then adding some pieces in free agency, I think he'll be able to turn it around.
Yeah, so Paris, I think you made a great point on the quarterback relationship with the wide receiver, and I think if you hear a lot of the Bears receivers, like you said, he's a big team guy, so like you always hear his teammates talk great things about him. A lot of people have been kind of faulting Caleb. Is the one thing that they question him is just his personality, his leadership skills, and the stuff that you kind of hear from him leading into this year. I kind of felt like maybe a player like that, young in college, but once you come to the NFL, is that something that's kind of coachable that they kind of, fix that real quick? Or do you think that's just kind of a part of you?
I would say it's a little bit of both. Um, and another thing is I'm not sure of the quarterback room in Chicago, other than Justin. Who was in the quarterback room? If you guys know off the top of your head.
Tyson Bagent, he was a rookie, and then who was the third string? I don't even know.
Nathan Peterman is
Nathan
the third
Peterman.
Okay,
string
Nathan
quarterback.
Peterman.
Yep.
Yeah, so obviously, with a young guy coming in, you would like to have a veteran quarterback in the room that can kind of, teach him the ropes, show him how it's supposed to go, kind of
Right.
see what his leadership skills are, see where he can help, and that thing. But I think it goes both ways. Obviously, the coaches are going to do all that they can, in terms of getting them ready to play and all that stuff. But to be honest with you, I think when it comes to leading the team and leadership and personality and being able to get along with the guys and getting them to play for you, I think it just comes to the person that you are. To be honest, I don't think that that's something that can be learned, because I feel like if it's learned, then it's just not authentic. You know what I mean? Like it just
Right.
it feels off. It has just a different feeling to it. And it's funny because I remember earlier in the college year just kind of seeing Caleb like interact after he lost those big games. Um, Not judging him by any means, but when I saw him go to, his family and kind of just, sulk and cry, obviously crying to me is not soft, because it shows me that he's passionate about the game. He's passionate about the way he plays, and he's passionate about his performance.
Right.
But I also saw an interview after that game, and I think he said something like, "Yeah, I just want to go home, watch Netflix, and cuddle up with my dog." And I'm just like, "What?" Like I'm not judging the man by any means, but like I don't know, it felt a little weird to me. You know what I mean? Like it just I don't know. Kind of like I didn't like the vibe of that answer. Not taking anything away from him. Not saying he's not a great leader. Not saying that he doesn't know how to lead the locker room. But for me personally, that was just like a little off. Um, but then again, I saw, because I watch videos too. I saw him interacting with players and stuff at the combine. I seen him interacting with Brendan Rice. Like he was asking Brendan Rice questions during the media time at the combine. Like he looks like a guy that's easy to get along with as well. You know what I mean? So it's just
Right.
obviously the Chicago front office is doing their due diligence when it comes to the meetings that they're having with him. Trying to figure his personality out. But I do think it's a little bit of just who you are at the end of the day.
So, Paris, I got a little bit more of like a rookie into the NFL question now. As a wide receiver, you went through the combine. There's a couple big names at the top of the list for wide receivers: Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors. I'd like your take on which guy you think their game would transition best to the NFL.
I'm scared to answer this because I know y'all are gonna think that I'm biased. I know it. But no, honestly, I think it's Marvin, no question. I've obviously, Brian Hartline, the receiver coach at Ohio State. He was my receiver coach my last year, and I talked to him in lengths about Marvin. I talked to former players that played with him, from Chris Olave to Jackson Smith and Jigba, to players that's there now. Obviously, Garrett Wilson as well, and they all say that he's the best receiver to ever walk through Ohio State. And obviously,
Wow.
yeah, that's a enormous
That's
amount of
saying a
praise.
lot. That's
Yeah,
a
it's an
yeah.
enormous amount of praise. And part of it is, with being a receiver at Ohio State, like you got some pride in that, right? Like you should, right? Like,
Absolutely.
they're calling another player, the best receiver to ever walk through there. But it's like, man, when I watch him, like I can't argue it. You know what I'm saying? I can't argue it. And um, it's just I think it is a truly work of art, because obviously, being in Indy, I know, and spoken to his dad, the great Marvin Harrison Sr. Just talking to him about Marvin Jr., like it's crazy because Marvin Sr. isn't blessed with 6'4", 185. Like Marvin Sr. is all of,
Right.
shoot, 5'10", 5'9", maybe. So it's a beauty to watch Marv on the field, man. To see him craft, to see the way that he runs routes. He's explosive. His hands, the way he catches the ball, like just everything, man. Like, and you can tell he's a smart player too. Like he's out there working his craft, like trying to get open and doing different things, giving the DBs different looks, man. And I think it's just rare to see that at the college level. I really do. I think it's um, like, to be a route technician is one thing. You know what I mean? It's one thing to be that in college, but when you got route technicians that's in the NFL saying Marv is the real deal, like, you know what
Right.
I'm saying, then that's just certified. That's the stamp. And I think obviously, we'll see that come this next season, because obviously wherever he goes, I think I think that team is going to try to get him the ball off early and often. And I think I think we'll see that translate. Not to say that I don't like Malik Neighbors and Roman Duze, because both of them are phenomenal players. But when it comes to obviously transition into the NFL, I think Marv will be the best in that.
Yeah, I've been kind of saying for a while now, it's kind of a unique position for the Bears, because not only is there a once in a lifetime talent, available in Caleb Williams, I think the same thing can be said for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think that's where there's a lot of questions when it comes to the Bears. Do you not take the chance of passing up on a guy like Caleb Williams, or do you trade it maybe down to 3, where you kind of assume the first 2 picks will be quarterbacks? Yeah, you get the draft capital and you get a guy like Marvin Harrison to pair with DJ Moore and Justin Fields, and that's kind of where that debate's been for all offseason for the Bears. And I personally don't think there's a wrong decision. I have opinions on what I think they will end up doing, but I just think you have a rare talent in both players in the same draft.
Yeah. So I'm curious. What do you think they are going to do? I'm curious to know.
Well,
let's take it around the table. Let's start with you, Ace, and we'll bring it back around.
So there's a difference between what I would do versus what I think they're going to do. I think the writing has kind of been on the wall the last week or so, just by what the GM has said when interviewed. He said something about, if we go the trade route with Justin, I want to make sure that we do right by him and put him in a situation that he can succeed in. He's been very complimentary of Caleb wanting to come to the Bears. I personally think they end up taking Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick. For like the last 3 months, I was on the wagon of just the haul you got last year for the number 1 pick when the quarterback class wasn't what it is this year. Imagine that haul you can get back. But it seems to me that, you're not going to bring Justin back with a 3rd offensive coordinator and hope that it works when you have the opportunity to draft a generational player in Caleb Williams. And I only do that because it's like you hear generational player every draft. So, I think Caleb shows good things. I would be surprised if they traded that pick and ended up moving on from Justin and didn't take Caleb and took a different quarterback in this draft. There's been rumors about that, but I think ultimately they end up taking Caleb Williams. What about you, Tarbell?
Unfortunately, well, I don't want to say unfortunately, because it's a good position for the Bears to be in either way, right? From a fan perspective, like we're arguing, quote unquote, arguing about Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams, 2 very excellent quarterbacks in my opinion. So it's a good spot for us to be in, but I think ultimately the Bears do go ahead and draft Caleb Williams at 1. I think you look back, obviously, CJ Stroud coming out of Ohio State last year had a phenomenal rookie year with the Texans. We passed on him. You go rewind the clock all the way back to 2018. The Bears had a chance at Patrick Mahomes. They passed on him. Do you want to be the team that's known as the team that just passes on generational talent at quarterback consistently? I don't think you do. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Bears to go after Caleb Williams, although I would love to see them draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and run things back with Justin Fields. That's what my personal I would do is, but I do think ultimately that they will go ahead and move forward with Caleb.
Yeah. So I've been a big fan of Justin since day 1 and kind of defended him since day 1. I still like him. I'm honestly good either way, however they go about it. I personally think they will go Caleb, and the only reason why I think it is more for the same points that I've kind of said multiple times, and what Tarbell just reinstated, that the fact that how many guys you passed up on. And it's not even the fact that you passed up on a guy like Mahomes. It was the fact that you traded so much draft capital to move up 1 spot to take Mitch Trubisky because you didn't think there was value in the other quarterbacks. And and one of those quarterbacks is probably going to be one of the better quarterbacks we ever see play. So, and not only that, if you remember back to last year, the Bears were not shy at saying like, "Hey, our number one pick is on the block. Like, if you want to come get it." They have not really came out and said that this year. So I think that's a big indication that they really don't want to trade it. I thought the only thing that can convince them not to is if maybe the conversation with Caleb Williams went poorly, but that doesn't sound like it was the case. So I just think the writing is on that wall that, you go Caleb with that first overall pick. And at the same time, it's, it could be a good reset for the Bears. And I know we probably feel like we say that every 4 or 5 years now, but it really just, it feels a little different. You're kind of addressing the O-line a little more. You're getting real true number one receivers at wide receiver there. You got a tight end like Cole Kmet, who is probably one of our better tight ends we've had in a while now. The defense, despite how the Bears were, the defense played lights out last year. So I feel like you're just a few missing pieces away on this Bears offense to really be a contending team. And I'm glad that Tarbo kind of brought up Stroud and the Texans, because if you look at them, they were kind of a similar situation as the Bears. They're not kind of missing that piece. And then you get Stroud come in, and he just came in firing, making that team completely relevant, brings them to the playoffs, and just puts like, where do the Texans come from? And I think Caleb Williams can be that kind of guy that does the same thing for the Bears.
This is gonna sound like Caleb Williams hate, but it's not. It's not. I promise.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
I just want to know. So when he did an interview and they asked him, I think a reporter asked him what would his question be to the Bears or something like that, and he said, "Do they want to win?" Right.
Yep.
But my question is, like, what has Caleb Williams won though? Like, especially not last year.
Right.
I mean, he lost a whole bunch of shootout games. I mean, I guess you can ask that question with Justin too, though. What has Justin won in the NFL? But it's just, I don't know. Obviously, I love the player that Caleb Williams is, and I love the confidence that he has. Obviously, the confidence it's everywhere. It's oozing out of him. You can't deny his confidence. But it's funny because I have these debates with my friends all the time, and I'm kind of blinded by his talent, to be honest with you. Like, I can sit and watch Caleb Williams throw the ball all day long because it is impressive. It truly is. Like, one throw he had, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but he's like running towards the sideline, literally falling out of bounds, and just throws a dart on the sideline for like 60 yards. And I'm like, there's no other player in the world but Patrick Mahomes that can make that throw. And like, as a receiver, that is what you die for. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and that's the kind of thing that I was arguing about with my friends, and they're just like, and my friends, he wouldn't mind me sharing his name, but Cardale Jones, former quarterback with Ohio State, he thinks he's like this quarterback guru. So he has a debate for every quarterback. So he's asking me, he's like, well, what does Caleb won? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I mean, he won Heisman. He won Heisman, but he's like, what game has he won? And I'm like, dang, when you put it like that, I can't really tell you.
Well, and I think that
go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. I think that is a totally fair question. I mean, you look at some of the stats just last season against top 25 defenses, Caleb Williams did struggle. The Notre Dame game, obviously, for one, comes to mind. And obviously you can say there was lack of talent around him last year and things like that. And, he did definitely elevate some players around him, but I think it's a fair question. It's a tough question, but it's a fair one, Parris. I like it.
Yeah, I'm just playing a little devil's advocate. That's all.
No, I mean, I had the same question too, like for the longest time towards the end of the season, the talk was a lot of Justin's probably going to stay. They're going to trade the pick. And then all of a sudden the narrative shifted like 2 or 3 weeks after the Super Bowl, or 2 weeks after, where, I don't know if it was because of what Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl, where it was like, he carried that team to that win. Maybe that's the kind of guy that the Bears need to take a shot on. I've always been one, dance with the devil versus the devil you don't. And what you have in Justin. Where his game needs improvement. you know what you can bring in to help that improvement, and the capital that you would get back in this draft. Really, you're looking at, you could probably get a solid 7 extra draft picks if you're lucky by trading this pick. And if you decide to move back even more, which some of the rumors were, you're setting a foundation where, you got 6 rookies starting on both sides of the ball. And you're looking at a team with Justin, who I think they could take that step. It's always funny in Chicago. It's always everybody wants the backup quarterback until the backup quarterback's in. So, it was that way this season when Justin got hurt with Bajan. Everybody wanted to see him play, and then they got to see him play and realized, well, we missed Justin. So I just hope we don't get in that scenario this next season where they move on and then we're like, damn, look at Justin in Atlanta balling out, and we're, sitting around 4 wins all year.
Yeah, 100%.
Parris, we appreciate you being so gracious with your time. I got one more quick one before we let you go. For you as a player, what was your favorite play as an NFL player since you've been in the league? I mean, do you have one play, one touchdown, one specific catch that really sticks out to you from your career? Like,
Yeah. Man. I would say my first touchdown was at my last season with the Colts. A lot of people don't know this, but so the touchdown, I think you guys might have showed it in that clip, but I kind of it was like third down, it was third down, third and short. We're on the goal line, and I end up kind of diving for the pylon as I'm sliding out of bounds. So it's crazy because the season before that touchdown, and it was a short touchdown. Obviously, it was a touchdown that we needed in the game. It gave us the lead. But the previous year, I scored a touchdown. You guys showed this too. I caught it it was a 56-yard bomb from Carson. Caught the touchdown. The safety from the Texans ends up diving for me as I'm in the end zone. He dives at me and lands on my foot, and my foot's flexed up. And so when he dives on it, the force of him diving on my foot ended up literally snapping my foot in half. My foot ended up shifting up like this. And
wow.
I get up, I'm hyped because that was my first touchdown since the previous season when I tore my knee. So I'm hyped, whatever, emotions all over me. I don't even really know that my foot is broken at the time because, adrenaline is pumping. I'm jumping around, celebrating with the guys, whatever. Get back to the sideline after that touchdown, and I'm talking to T.Y. Hilton, and I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure that my foot is broke. He's like, what? What are you talking about? You just scored a touchdown. You just ran back to the sideline, all this. I'm like, nah, 100%. I think my foot is broken. Obviously, foot ended up being broken. But why? Sorry for the long story, but sorry. But why that touchdown was my favorite is because it literally happened in the same corner of the end zone. So that was my favorite. So I got to, be excited and kind of be in that same part of the end zone where, I had a high moment, but then a low moment because I got hurt. So it was just kind of cool to, have that touchdown there again.
And Parris, I got one more for you before we let you go. And again, thank you for your time. I know that you're a Madden player. What kind of player are you? You one of the guys that just sits quiet on the headset? Are you a trash talker? What kind of guy? What kind of gamer?
Are you? I'm a silent killer. I'm a silent killer for sure. But yeah, I like to play a lot of Madden. This guy over here beat me in our league that we're in. Unfortunately, he got lucky. But nah, man, I like to have fun. I like to play Madden. I don't usually I know some people join up in parties and talk trash. That's not me. I like to be locked in, focused, laser focused. Because you never know what you're gonna get in some of these Mad leagues. Some people just YouTube plays, cheese, and whatever, nano blitz and all that stuff. I like to just play football and kind of use my brain at the same time. So
nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and going into that game, I was kind of great. You play these Madden players that are so good at reading a defense and knowing what you're running. I'm like, this dude knows exactly what defense I'm running. He knows what he knows what I'm looking at, and I'm like, man, this is gonna be a long game. And I will be the first to admit, that I got lucky that game. I caught cut a lot of good breaks at the end of that game to get that win. But
Hey, Mike, I appreciate you for being honest.
hey, I told you in DM. I told you in DM
Yeah,
that
100%.
that I agree that I ran that RPO and I was like, oh, he's done. I'm like, oh crap, man, maybe not.
Hey, dude, it's crazy because, like I said, like I try to shoot. I kind of use Madden as like a test. Like, obviously, I know you can disguise defenses and stuff like that on there, but like I try to stay true to my knowledge. Like, no, if I see both these safeties on the same level and the corners off, this is potentially quarters. Or if I see him one off, I know he might be rolling the cover, that he might be blitzing. Like, I try to play the mental game. But hey, man, when Madden won its way, Madden gets its way, and they'll do
Yep.
some crazy stuff, and you can't even explain it. And it's just like, all
So when
right,
you
whatever.
so when you talk real life, has there been that one corner that you look at when you're lining up, and has there been that one guy that you know you're going to be going up against that you were just kind of like, oh, got to go against this guy?
Yeah, believe it or not, it was actually one of my teammates, Kenny Moore, who plays uh, the nickel, so he's in the slot a lot. And obviously, like having him in the same building, the same locker room, man, it made me a lot better. I think he got me so much better. Um, obviously, he had a down year 2 years ago, but he was able to come back last year and make a bunch of plays. Excited for him and what's coming for him. But man, he's a true baller, and I respect him because he was an undrafted rookie with the New England Patriots. Ended up getting cut, coming to Indy, just absolutely freaking balling out, then becoming the highest paid slot nickel in the league. So I just, I got a different type of respect of guys that, just come from nothing, man. He came from a small school of Valdosta State, in Georgia. I got when stories like
Oh,
that,
wow.
you know what I'm saying, that I just got so much respect for that grind. But just the player that he is, man, they call him lightning in the bottle, and that is what he is for sure. He's all of 5'9", but he's just got this massive wingspan. His freaking arms hang down to his kneecaps. But he's aggressive, man. He's a baller, and he made me a lot better. But it was like when we would go one on one in practice and stuff, I would just I had to get my mind right because he's always one step ahead. He's super intelligent. Um, he plays the game the right way, and we had our battles, but man, I really a lot of credit to him because he made me so much better. So, that's probably not the glaring answer that anybody would expect, but just having been in Indy with him for 4 years, man, is just a guy that I
Yeah, no,
always kind of
I
look
love
up
the
to.
answer. Honestly, a lot of times when you hear players get asked that question, usually are getting told a top five, rated
Yeah,
corner in the
yeah,
league. So it's kind of
Right.
like nice hearing those lower names.
yeah.
So no, I love the answer. What can we expect from you this year? Do you kind of have should we expect you again on the Giants, or are you kind of playing the free agency field, or?
Yeah, so I'm a free agent, and so when the new league year starts, March 14th, I will be officially a free agent. Um, I don't know what can happen at the time. Obviously, in talks with my agent, he's here. I'm actually in Indy. He's here in Indy at the combine, meeting with teams. And so I'll talk to him at the end of this week, probably tomorrow, and kind of go through with the meetings that he's had and the teams he's talked to and what they're saying. Obviously, I'm in a little bit of a weird predicament, honestly, just because of the way things went down with the Giants last year. Uh, it was crazy, bunch of stuff happened, but I'm healthy. I feel like I got a lot of good ball left in me. Um, I feel like that after my last season in Indy, I felt like last year was kind of the prove it year for me. I kind of you know got my feet underneath me with having a good year in Indy my last year. So I thought that I would go to New York and kind of just propel and kind of take off and kind of solidify myself. Obviously, it didn't go that way. Everything happens for a reason. Um, but I'm like I said, I'm healthy. Looking forward to what's next for me, man. And um, I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited. I know some people. I get people in my DMs all the time like, "Oh, you bust. You came to New York and you didn't do this and do that." I mean, like, obviously that's fine and well. That's some people are just being people. But I tell people like if you knew the full story, you know what I'm saying, you wouldn't say the you wouldn't say the things that you do. Uh, but yeah, man, I'm like I said, I'm excited for what's to come and excited to see where I land. For sure.
And we're excited as well. We'll be following that along for see where you end up for sure.
I appreciate
We
that. I
we
appreciate it.
appreciate you, Paris. Thank you so much for being so gracious with your time with us tonight. Before you leave us, you want to let everybody know where they can follow you on socials?
Yes. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Parris Campbell. That is with 2 R's, Paris with 2 R's. And on Twitter, you guys can follow me at P Campbell 21.
Awesome. Great stuff. Again, Paris, we really appreciate all your time tonight. Mike was very hyped to get you on with us, and we appreciate all the time, man. So thank you so much. We will definitely talk to you soon, and go give Paris a like and follow. Anybody else got anything to add?
I was just going to say thanks again, man, for your time. It's
Absolutely.
always special when we're able to get a player on. Best of luck to you, in the future with whatever ends up happening for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. As I told you many times, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day and doing this. So I much respect, man. I appreciate it. And maybe we could have a rematch in the Super Bowl and man.
Right. Right, for sure. Hey man, likewise, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I never take these opportunities lightly. I love getting around just good people and just talking ball. So I appreciate you guys for having me on your show. And yeah, just stay in touch, man. And
Will do.
whatever happens, I'm sure we'll talk soon. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely,
Yep,
man.
best
Thank
of
you.
luck, Paris. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Man, what a great interview, to say the least. I mean, we've had some exposure with some former players, but that's our first
Yeah.
experience with an actual active NFL wide receiver. And
Yeah.
Paris was so gracious with his time and really just so insightful. I definitely wanted to ask him that question about the wide receiver quarterback connection, because you hear it a lot, but how often do you get the chance to ask a current NFL wide receiver what that connection's like? And
Right.
especially the transition between quarterbacks, man. But great perspectives there from Paris, and really kind of opened my eyes up to some things that we as football fans and analysts don't get to see or be so privy to. So that was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we were able to. He gave us a little extra time than we originally planned, which is awesome. And he didn't shy away from some of the questions. I was always one guy that, if you watch this show, follow this show, you've heard me say I think the Bears moving on from Fields will do more damage than keeping him. And It's interesting to get that perspective from him also on what that transition, when you lose a leader of that caliber in your locker room, how hard is it to replace that person? So I thought this was a killer show. There are other topics. If you guys want to keep going, we can. Otherwise, we can stop. It's totally up to you guys.
Well, I'm with you. I'm digging it. It's been a good night thus far. Obviously, Paris was very gracious with his time, and now we're almost an hour in. But why don't we go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and we will be back with you guys in 60 seconds.
Third down, field goal. Room to run for Fields. Oh, turn it on to speed.
All right, guys. And we are back with you here on the Undefeated Sports Network. So, man, what an excellent evening thus far, guys. I think that's the best football talk I've had in months. It's been a little while since I got the pleasure to join both you gentlemen. Actually, the first show I've gotten to do with Mike because of my technical difficulties. So
you've been out of commission for a month, and I've had to drive this whole ship, and it's been a lot of pressure. And I'm finally excited to be able to sit back and be passenger princess to the great Tarbill, because I always love when you drive these shows.
So, last show we did, someone asked us this question. but I think it's a better, proper question now. Can we talk real quick about how great this host is?
Who, me?
Tarbill.
Oh, Tarbo.
Well, I do greatly appreciate the love, guys. Hey, it's something that's organic for me. I like to talk. Nobody can shut me up, as my wife would say. So
Me and
glad
Tarbo
to-
go back a long time in this game of Chicago podcasting, and
We're-
You know, it was really, really
we're
cool.
going on what, 4 years, Ace?
yeah, right after COVID, I think, because my dumbass thought, hey, you know what? Let's start a sports podcast, and 2 weeks later, an entire world
The entire country
pandemic
shut
hits,
down,
and
yeah.
there's no fucking sports for 6 months. But hey, I made it through that, and here I am, and
Here
my
we
boy
are.
Tarbill, you know, I got him, and
You know what? You should be proud though, man, because most people that start a sports podcast and then sports take a hit the way it does, to be able to keep this going through that while it's just starting up is pretty impressive. So definitely something to be proud of. And having Parris was awesome. I think the best part of that was you always think of like, you know, players, you know, about themselves, you know, needing to do what they got to do to better their career. Like, so to get a player's perspective, you know, hearing their opinions on, you know, other team situations and, you know, them saying about how they're watching games and they're thinking this and they're thinking that. And just to kind of get in a player's head, like going into free agency, like that pressure in that last season they're playing and, you know, just their whole mindset of the off season and the pressure that it takes and, you know, their opinions about everything. It's just kind of cool to get that in, like you said, you know, not former player, like a current player's mindset of what's going on and the pressure that, you know, they have to conquer while doing it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of good hits on this episode of, you know, everything from, you know, what he thinks about Fields. Obviously, he made sure to tell us he was unbiased, even though they have the Ohio State connection.
Right.
I really think he did a good job of playing devil's advocate with Caleb, because you're sitting in a spot right now with. I was going to ask him about, you know, I've brought up many times before, like if the Bears didn't have this number 1 overall pick, what would the whole conversation look like? But
Right.
you know, I like that he was able to, you know, give both sides on who he thought, and I love the fact that he was straightforward with the wide receiver question that we asked, and he gave a real thorough answer. And it was interesting to hear, you know, what a bunch of former Ohio State wide receivers are saying about Marvin Harrison Jr., because you hear the wide receiver position is a lot of, you know, big egos and stuff like that. So for those guys to all agree that Marvin Harrison is that guy, it's pretty enticing if you're sitting in the position that you are as the Bears are.
Does anyone else selfishly kind of want the Bears to sign Parris Campbell now?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll call Pace up right now.
I was gonna say, hey, the Bears could use another quality wide receiver.
Yeah. So I know some guys that are in Indy right now. I'll just have them reach out to polls and see what we can get done.
Yeah, there you go.
We do got a couple buddies out there right now. So
yep.
But no, ultimately, man, I mean, I think you look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and the skill set that he's gonna bring, right? Aside from what his dad did and, you know, him being on the field as a kid when his dad won a Super Bowl and being around the NFL kind of world his entire life and somewhat already being acclimated. I mean, obviously the speed of the game is going to be different for him when he comes to the NFL, but you can't take it lightly that he was around that stage from a young age. And I think he's going to transition a little bit better than any of these other guys just for that reason. And for, you know, obviously just look at the skill set. I mean, you see some of the amazing catches that he made in his career, and it's just mind-blowing. We got our guy Foster in the chat, hoping everyone is well. We're doing good, Foster. Appreciate you tuning in as always, my friend, and hope everything's well with you. But just looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. and the talent that he could bring to the table, if you pair him with DJ Moore and solidify the offensive line, there's no way that the Bears don't win 10 games next year. I mean,
they should have won 10 games this year. They blew 3 games
there
by
were
historic.
4 games. There were 4 games that were lost by one turnover or less. I mean, that's the NFL though. To play
Right.
devil's advocate, that's any given Sunday.
But also 3 of those games were games that they were leading in and should have realistically won and closed out, but they were unable to do that, losing 3 games historic fashion. Like you should have been
Yes.
at 10. And then you
This
and
is
I would have
true.
looked like geniuses because before the season,
Right.
we were on the hype machine. I mean, I was a little more optimistic with 12 wins, but you would have
But
hit 10
I
right
had
on the head.
Yeah, I was
You would've
right
hit it
there.
right on the head.
So, ultimately, I think whatever our Chicago Bears decide to do, we're in a good position as analysts, podcasters, fans, first and foremost. The fan in me will always want to root for Justin in this scenario, just because I've watched him give his blood, sweat, and tears to this organization over the last few years, and sure, the record doesn't show it, as a lot of people would say, but I mean, if you watch week in and week out, and some of the practice clips you see, just his demeanor, the way that he so passionately cares about this team, you want to be behind a guy like that. He makes it very easy to like him. Now, with that being said, if the Bears do go after Caleb Williams, which, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think they're going to do, I'm not going to be upset because I get it. But moving into our next topic, NFL Combine, new duo in Chicago. This ties right into what we're talking about, guys. So before we get into this, though, I do want to bring up Foster's comment here in the chat. 3 games, less than 6 minutes left, and the Bears had a 90% chance to win and lost. He had them going 10-7. Bears Country Podcast had 11-6. Okay, you were right there with us, Foster, and I think we actually chatted about that the first time that I came on air with you guys. Only the Bears can lose in historical fashion like that,
and that's why it's nuts that the coaching staff that Eberflus stayed. And I know Justin gets a lot of heat, and you were talking about this, Tarbo, how the record doesn't really show, forgetting that his first season was a transitional year for the coaching staff because everybody knew Nagy was out. And then the second year, that team was demolished to the studs so that it was going to lose. And then now you're on that rebuilding side of it. And it is a little unfortunate that Fields was there. And like you said, he gave his body, his leadership to this team. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like he's going to be able to see that come to fruition, which it is a little, kind of sour taste in your mouth. But if you have a shot at a guy like Caleb Williams and he lives up to the hype that he's billed at, and obviously you're not going to probably get Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's going to go around number 4, I would think, to the Cardinals. But there's an opportunity for Neighbors or Odunze to be there. You're looking at a potential. There was a post on Instagram that I had looked at that was like potential 2024 Bears offense, and it was Caleb Williams. It was the 2 running backs, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and I was like, oh man, that is a sexy lineup.
So you said the 2 running backs. I'm assuming Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson were the 2 in that photo.
I think they were, yes.
Before we talk about this potential duo here, I want to throw a little bit of a curveball out here and say that I think the Bears may have another option at running back by the time next season starts. Now, whether that's they pick up a vet that's cheap in free agency or they go after someone late in the draft, I think you will see another running back on the Bears roster next season. I'm not impressed with some of the things that transpired with Khalil Herbert last year. I think obviously injury played a big part in his performance, but I might catch some flack for saying this, I wish the Bears would have moved on from Khalil Herbert and kept David Montgomery. That's my personal opinion, but
yeah,
So
my dad's on the same bandwagon as you, Tarbill.
Yeah. So mine, I personally did not like Montgomery. I didn't think he was a bad running back, but I like the way the Lions are using him. I think is the perfect way to use him to try to make him your every down back. He's just not that kind of guy, in my opinion. With that said,
Okay.
I think Herbert is a very similar back. So I feel that same exact way about Herbert. The guy, so everyone keeps talking about like, should we have kept Montgomery? Now everyone's saying, do we keep Herbert? Do we find another one? Do we draft another one? Do we sign one in free agency? So maybe my opinion is the unpopular opinion here, but I felt like I loved what I saw from Roshan when he touched the ball. I think if
Oh,
you
absolutely.
consistently give him 15 to 20 carries a game and you let him gain experience and gain field experience, I think he has the ability to be a really good running back, but you're essentially giving him 5 to 7 carries a game and you're not even giving him a chance to really show you what he can do without that consistent gameplay. So, especially like last year, I wish they would have just said, "Hey, we're going to give Roshan the ball 15, 20 times a game. Let's see what kind of production we get out of him." Because now you have no idea what you got out of him.
Right.
Right. No, I don't think that's super controversial at all, Mike. I really like that opinion, and I agree. I think Roshan definitely showed flashes last year where it was like, okay, I see why the Bears drafted him. And obviously playing behind such an explosive player in Bijan Robinson, his last year there, he didn't get as many touches as you would have liked, but I think Roshan could definitely be your true bell cow type running back that he hits the hole hard. He's explosive, and obviously a few games there last season he was out with concussion protocol, and obviously got to do the right thing there. But would have liked to have seen the usage go up more after that. But we had offensive coordinator in Luke Getsy who. His friend said, "You won't call 30 screen passes in a game." And he said, "Hold my beer and watch this." So
Yeah.
ultimately, you can blame a lot of that on play calling. I'm excited to see what Shane Waldron can do with this offensive scheme. I think we obviously have. Oh, we got another comment here from Foster in the chat. With Monty gone, I thought Herbert would not be effective as lead. He was perfect after seeing Monty draft day. Said Roshan could be a 3-down back. Weakness is cutability, can block and catch passes. I think that's fair. The cutability is a big thing, but I like what we've seen from Roshan thus far, and I think we got to give him more of a shot. Let him develop for another year, and then we can all assess from there. But I do think there's another running back on this roster. I don't think the Bears are going to go out and sign Saquon Barkley or anything crazy like that. If
I thought that's what the route you were going was when you
No.
brought this topic up. That's why I was like, Jesus, I hope not.
No,
because I've
all,
heard that
all
rumor
reports are
too.
kind of pointing. All reports are kind of pointing that Saquon Barkley is going to be a member of the Texans next season, at least from
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
what I
reading
also
thus
read.
far.
Yeah.
And that's a totally great place for him to go. I think you
Great fit.
pair him with CJ Stroud and Tank Dell, and they've got something really cooking over there. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
the Texans making the playoffs last season. But back to our Chicago Bears, because after all, this is a Chicago sports network. Even though we were talking to an NFL player who was last on the Giants, great perspective.
Yeah, but this is the Combine show. So like we had him
Absolutely.
on. We had the opportunity to talk a little bit about that as well. And
It was awesome. Can't say enough about how great that interview was with Parris. But looking at the topic below us, quote unquote new duo in Chicago, Caleb Williams and either Odunze or Malik Neighbors, depending on what the Chicago Bears decide to do. Obviously, we don't have both in the picture, but
right. So I put these two in the picture together because from a lot of the comments at the Combine, Odunze was talking a lot about the relationship that him and Caleb Williams have and how they talk a lot outside of football, and the thought of like, oh, well, like these guys are tight. Imagine if the Bears were able to pull something like that off. I don't know if they will be able to. I wonder if it's a scenario where, you're looking and you're seeing an opportunity to jump up in the draft after you take Caleb Williams and maybe, pair.
All right, I'm going to stop you there though, Ace, because if you're going to move up in the draft after you take Caleb Williams, the logical thing would be to throw the farm to get Marvin Harrison Jr.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
If you're going to, I don't think the Bears are going to move up. No matter how the first 8 picks shake out, I don't see that being a reality. I think Ryan Poles understands the value of the picks that he's had. He's really, he flipped 7 picks into 21 his first year here.
Yep.
And Ryan Poles God, I go back to pace. It's horrible. We went from Matt and Ryan to Matt and Ryan, guys.
Ryan.
I'm gonna butcher that sometime.
Both in the same position too.
Right. Wild. Ryan Poles, I think, definitely values draft positioning, and I don't see him moving up unless it's clear cut, like, hey, we're gonna trade it back up to 4 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. But I don't see that.
Yeah, I think it'd be too much for them to jump from 9 to 4.
I did.
Yeah, but you know what? Like 9 to 4 would be a lot because of the value of Marvin Harrison. But you can go from 9 to 5, and that 9 to 5 won't cost you nearly as much as 9 to 4 will.
Right.
And then you could get your choice of the other 2 receivers,
right?
Because don't take this the wrong way, Mike. I don't mean to undermine at all your point there from 9 to 5, but at 5, there's no shot that Arizona passes on Marvin Harrison Jr. Right?
No shot.
No. So I'm saying if you want to ensure that you get a Dunze.
Okay, I got you. So if you want your choice out of
a Dunze or Neighbors,
and really there's a couple other guys there that'll be high second round talents.
Right now, the latest, the most recent mock draft that I've seen on just looking quickly was by USA Today, and they currently have, which is shocking to me, they have Jaden Daniels going 2. They have Drake May 3, Marvin Harrison 4, and Odunze going 5 to the Chargers.
Wow.
Yo, that would be a solid pairing too, Justin Herbert and him.
So I'm okay with whatever. At this point, I'm just going to be completely boldly honest. I'm okay with whatever receiver the Bears want to pair with Caleb Williams, but my expectation is if we take Caleb Williams at 1, we also take a wide receiver at 9.
So Turtle and I think have kind of mentioned this a couple times, and chats.
Yep.
What about if you go like an edge rusher at 9 and you get someone like his teammate in Rice and you kind of get that chemistry and you get him, maybe like in that second or third round. I know you don't have a second round pick, but I assume if you trade Justin Fields, get back in the second round.
Yeah, you're going to have 2 second round picks from Atlanta probably.
Yeah. So,
or hey, I gotta go back to what I said about running back, or player for player, Justin Fields for Bijan Robinson. I'm just kidding. There's no shot that happens.
So do you think there's a scenario where the Bears are able to move Justin to Atlanta to possibly get that number 8 spot? Or do you think it's going to be a higher second round pick?
I don't. I think it could be a player in a second round pick. I think Kyle Pitts is a name that gets thrown around a lot, and I would love to see him on the other side of the line opposite Cole Kmet. But it really just depends on how much Atlanta or Pittsburgh or any other team's willing to pay, right? So thus far, from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like the conversations are really going in the Bears' favor as far as, really one team just absolutely has to have Justin Fields. You hear Atlanta a little bit on Twitter. There's been a couple reports that say a deal's almost done with Atlanta. I don't know what the credibility is to that at this point. Obviously, till the 14th, I think it is. Nothing can happen officially anyway, right? So
I think it's the 12th, I believe.
Is it the 12th? Sorry.
I believe. I'm not 100%, but I think it's the 12th.
Gotcha. But
yeah, I also think you can also kind of look at and see like what's there. Like if Odunze and Neighbors are both gone when you get to number 9, then I kind of like more of that, verse, going verse at 9 maybe. Or I saw the one thing I will be kind of upset at is I saw a mock draft earlier that had what's his name, the corner from Clemson, Nate Wiggins. If we draft a corner at 9, I am not going to be happy.
It doesn't make sense.
I would much
No.
rather have an edge rush at 9
Yeah.
to pair on the
So-
other side of Montez Sweat, personally.
The name's eluding me, but there was an edge rusher today that ran like a 4.42 40. You know who I'm talking, Mike?
No, I'm not a college football
I
guy,
do.
so
I
do
can't
not
I
know.
can't think of his name. I know exactly who you're talking about.
But he's a top round talent. We got Foster here with bold prediction. Bold prediction: Bears trade number 1 by Tuesday morning. Dun.
So they trade the first over the number 1 pick by Tuesday?
Hey, if
Whew,
it happens, it
listen,
happens. I don't,
my thought
I don't
process
know
on this
that-
whole thing is if you stay with Justin, I'll be fine. If you get Caleb, I think I'll also be fine. I just want them to get it right. They've gotten it wrong so much in the history of this organization. I'm buying into and I brought this up on Wednesday. Poles has had pretty solid things, from free agency, draft picks, getting draft capital, managing the cap the right way, getting rid of players he has to. We bought into him the last 2 seasons, right, in the draft. So whatever he decides to do this draft, I think I'm just gonna,
in polls we trust.
in polls we trust. Let polls
All right.
cook, baby.
So let polls eat, whatever you want to say. But I got to go back to Foster here. Foster, so just so I'm clear and I understand, if you could comment back in the chat for me, my friend. If you think the Bears trade the number 1 pick by Tuesday, are they keeping Justin Fields? Are they moving on from 1 and Justin Fields? Because that's been going on in the media as well. I think Greg Gabriel posted on Twitter that that's what he's hearing. And although all right, that's what he's hearing. We'll leave it at that. I want to know, Foster, what's your thoughts? So type back in the chat for us and we'll bring that up and talk about it a little bit more. But
Yeah, and Ace, real quick to answer your kind of question earlier about how you said you were kind of surprised that Eberflus kept his job. So I think this is just my take on it. I think when the year first started, a lot of us, including me, kind of questioned Eberflus, especially in that Broncos game. We don't got to talk about. We all know what happened in that game, but not kicking that field goal at the end of the game. I feel like that was kind of what kind of guy do we have? But at the same time, like it was a learning curve for him as well. And I felt like as the season went on, he got better and he rallied that defense to probably a top 7, if not top 5 defense. So
absolutely.
I think you saw him get so much better as the year went on. And with how much he rallied that defense, I think that's what bought him, more time in Chicago.
So our guy Foster here saying keeping Justin ... You can set this team up for a decade. Generational wealth in picks.
I love.
I see the value behind that 100%. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah,
No, you're good. So Ace probably knows exactly where I'm going with this because Ace and I kind of discussed this on Wednesday. At this point, so would you say it's a fair assumption to say, as Bears fans, the one thing that we criticize Justin Fields on is just the holding to the ball too long and the confidence he has in his arm and his throws? Like we question his confidence a lot when he's on the field.
Yes,
so
we talked about that Wednesday.
Now add in the fact that his starting job is questioned. We're questioning if we even really want him as our quarterback. So if we end up trading and it's kind of like, all right, Bears, all right, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll take you, we'll keep you. Like, you think you're gonna get more confidence out of him? I mean, I think you're just at the point where you might have killed his confidence even more,
right?
At the quarterback position. So now I'm kind of, if you keep Fields at this point, I feel like the confidence
So-
we already questioned is going to be worse.
It's like what we talked
the-
about on Wednesday. Sorry, Tarbill, where if you're dating somebody and you're at the bar with this person, right? But you see on the other side of the bar, there's this girl or guy, whatever, looking at you.
Are you like trying to mock me? I kind of understand.
Smiling, and you're like, you turn to your partner and you're like, hey, real quick, you're good, but that might be great. So I'm gonna go talk to that real quick. You just stay here. I'm not saying anything's gonna happen, but I'm gonna go talk to that one real quick. And then you go over there, you talk, and you're like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm gonna go back over here. How are you supposed to welcome that person back into that situation? And that's what I feel like Mike and I were talking on Wednesday. That's kind of where this is. Like, how do you bring Justin back into this team and expect the players to look at him like he's the leader still?
So hold up, wait.
Hold
One
up, wait.
second.
Yep. Let's wait.
What if, and this is a big what if, but what if this is Ryan Poles playing the absolute best game of chess we've ever seen in our lives, and he's told Justin, we're going to go out and we're going to make it seem like we're trading you, like that's actually on the table, but go take your vacation in Europe for a week.
Unfollow us on
Unfollow
Instagram.
us. We got you. You're coming back. You are the future of this organization. What if that's
news breaks,
that's not
because
too far fetched?
No, it's not. And if that news breaks after the draft and they're like, they do all this wheeling and dealing, trade the first overall pick, and then they gotta let that cat out of the bag, right? Because you can't hold on to that type of golden fucking swerve and not,
because it would be the best chess move by any,
right? Like, oh yeah, Justin knew this whole
GM
time. We told him to unfollow us. We told him all this stuff. We made sure to let him know he was the girl or the guy, no matter what. We just wanted that person to buy us a drink. You know what I mean? And maybe
I have a buddy saying the same thing to me. He's really big on wanting to keep Justin. And I brought up that same point to him one night when we were chatting about it. He kind of said that same thing. He goes, well, what if Poles has already told Justin he's staying?
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess it would be the case, but I don't know. So even if you didn't, just to play devil's advocate, to my point about can you really bring him back and expect more confidence? Say you did not tell him, all right, and say this is, you finally decided you're keeping your guy. The devil's advocate to that is maybe that's what you need for him to gain confidence. The argument to that could be, dude, we could have got Caleb Williams,
right,
and we want you. So that could be the confidence thing he needs. So just a kind of
love that thought process too. Of that, Mike. I love that idea. Is like, and that's what's cool about the scenario that the Bears are in, right? There's so many different avenues that they could go down. I mean, there was rumors today that they're not going to take Caleb. They're not going to keep Justin. That they're going to trade the first pick, move back to 2 or 3, and then take Daniels and all the draft capital that they can get with that. You know what I mean? And
right.
The only thing I can be upset as a Bears fan, there's not many scenarios from this draft that would upset me. That would be the one thing that would upset me. If we start this season and we have no Fields, no Marvin Harrison, and no Caleb Williams, I'm going to be pretty upset.
I can understand that. So we got a couple comments here from Foster I want to catch up on real quick, guys. Question, is Williams a for sure guy? Foster, nothing's ever a for sure thing, my friend, even if it looks like it's handed to you on a silver platter. No, to elaborate a little bit, I don't think that obviously Caleb Williams is 100% going to work out. I mentioned earlier in the show when we were chatting with Parris that I think you look at Caleb playing top 25 defenses and his stats literally cut in half. I mean, everybody points to the Notre Dame game last year, but there were 6 games against top 25 defenses where he averaged, I want to say, around 175 yards per game, which is not outstanding at the college level by any means. So to elaborate a little bit, no, I don't think Caleb is a for sure guy. But I'm okay with either decision that the Bears make. I see you're saying here, you said Poles told Justin, this is my plan. Only they know really what's going to happen. You brought that up on your show on the BCP last night. And then lastly, Caleb Williams' snap to time pressure is the worst in the NFL. It's a roll of the dice, man. Absolutely.
So I love all these points, and that's the thing about this is there's so many different things. Caleb, I know people are like, yeah, he is generational, blah, blah, blah. And he talks a good game at the podium, but they're really, if you look at history of number one overall quarterbacks picked, granted, usually they're going to a way worse team in a way worse situation than the Bears are in at this current moment. Not a lot of them see great success. You might have a few, but I'm still firm on the thought that I would like to see Justin return with this team. I think the capital that you get from this pick is just going to be so much that there's so many different avenues you can go with just this pick. Trade it to 3,
Right.
then trade from 3 back to 8. There's so many different things you can do to gain so much more leverage. And I know, Mike, you said you got to run soon, so like we can get this wrapped up, but I'm interested in your last little thought here.
Yeah, well, so Ace, I kind of told you this on Wednesday, though. If I know you kind of said, the Bears plan could be like, hey, we'll go to 3 and then we'll go to 8. There's no guarantee of that. I mean, you can go to 3 maybe, but there's no guarantee you're going to still be able to go to 8 like that. That's Atlanta, so they might not want to trade with you, at that point. So if your big plan is going from 1 to 3 and then 3 to 8, that might stop at 3. And, and then not saying that's, getting stuck at 3 is a horrible spot, because you're still going to probably get
Marvin Harrison Jr.
In the deal. So it's not bad, but, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. I don't think you can really assume I can go 3 and then I can go to 8, because there's a chance you might not be able to.
Right.
And I get what you're saying, all the draft capital you can get from this, but also what I alluded to on Wednesday night was the fact that, people keep saying, well, what if Caleb Williams doesn't work out? Okay, well, what if these draft picks that you get for the number 1 pick, what if those picks don't work out? We've seen first round, second round picks, especially the later ones, be complete busts all the times. So, I mean, what if that happens? And
right,
you got a guy like Caleb, going to Super Bowls or winning MVPs or being a top 5 quarterback in the league, while all this draft capital we were so excited to get maybe aren't on our roster in 4 to 5 years from now.
So my only rebuttal to that is that obviously if you're at a poker game and you have 1 chip, you're less likely to be able to win that if you have 9 chips in front of you, you have a better odds of hitting, and yeah, Caleb might be able to go somewhere and be this, but you're sitting in a spot where you got all these picks. You might find yourself in a scenario with a stud wide receiver and a stud edge rusher and a new safety and a top center in the league. Like, there's so much more possibility when you have all that capital versus when you just have the 1 pick and you put it on the quarterback. But like, I'm not saying that that's the right or wrong way to go about this. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
For
sure.
Point.
Another interesting kind of devil's advocate note on that, Mike. Would Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes if he played for the Chicago Bears?
I hate this question.
Probably not, right?
Right. No, that's super fair. And I've kind of said that a lot. I'm not saying he would be Patrick Mahomes on the Bears, but like, he might be a Justin Herbert, which is still better than what we have now.
So, and then looking at Justin Fields, I want to leave you guys with this because I know we got to wrap here. I think Justin Fields goes to the Atlanta Falcons and he is Michael Vick before the dog fighting. Mic drop.
So
Packers suck.
we got to play that, but then
yes, we do.
So
before we let you guys go,
Wednesday night, March 6th, mark it on your calendars. We have, I'm back. Our show, Tarbill, is back.
We're back, baby.
It's a different name, different look. It is going to air Wednesday next week, but then it's going to be Thursday nights going forward.
Correct.
I just wanted to get it started as soon as I could. I have everything set, and there's just a little tease. I'd like
Hey yo, here we go. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. I said microphone check. 1 2. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me. Can't.
I'm not gonna say that that's a pretty hype song, but like,
All right, don't toot your own horn. All right, it's Aces Wild, guys. Next Wednesday,
next Wednesday,
March
yeah.
6th.
Mark it down. 8
Mark it
o'clock.
on your calendars. Be here for it.
As long as
Aces-
Tarbill doesn't have any more computer problems, we'll be there for sure.
Tarbill bought a brand new computer. That's why I look so clear and crisp tonight on the webcam.
So handsome, so handsome.
With that being said, guys, we appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to join us tonight. Want to give a big shout out to our guy, Parris Campbell, again for joining us, gracing us with his presence. It was a great episode, lots of insight. We appreciate all of you followers as always. Be sure to go like, subscribe, and follow us. We are on all major social network platforms. You can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and coming soon, Spotify. So with that being said, guys, we appreciate you and have a good night. We'll see you soon.